Hey, it's your girl Cupcake. Let's have this conversation. One of the greatest lessons I've ever, ever learned that saved my life and my children's life was to watch my mouth. Watch your mouth. Respectfully. Listen, watch your mouth. Watch the words that you speak. I'm going to explain why. Because we don't understand. Like, I was just having this conversation with my son, my baby son, last night taking a bath. And he asked me some questions because, baby, listen, when I tell you that baby deep, listen, that baby deep. He asked me some things because he's still in his, like, pure innocent stage. And the questions that he asked me, I know they straight from the divine. I know they straight from God. And he was asking me, he was like, about a tongue and how if your tongue is chopped off and how can you speak without a tongue. We were talking about the tongue, correct? And so I was like, yeah, the tongue is the most powerful thing. And I said, do you understand why? And I said, if you don't have a tongue, you can't speak. And so the enemy knows your tongue is the greatest weapon. And so what happens is we don't understand how connected we are. And you'll always hear me go back to the tree because it's the roots. It's the roots of a tree that determine its life. It's the roots of of who you are. And listen, that determines your life. And we don't understand how connected we are. We're so disconnected that we don't understand the connection. See, the veins in your body are like the roots of a tree. And every time there are words and things spoken against the growth of that tree, it dies, it withers, and it dies. And see, the enemy knows. See, our bodies are an amazing thing. Like, the enemy knows that he may not physically chop your tongue off, but he'll allow you to use it to tear other people down, or he'll snatch your tongue. He'll block that throat chakra. See, we don't understand that we we have, when we're born, our soul is pure. God puts a pure soul because we're made in his image, correct? It's pure. God is holy. So that soul inside of you, which is in your heart, is pure. But your mind, because of the environment or where your seeds were planted, are tainted. And what happens is we don't understand where words derive from. We don't understand the meaning. I know Webster gave us a dictionary, but God is like, listen, I created Webster. I created everything. And we don't understand that the root of a word and what they say and what they mean. We don't understand. We're in school and we learn about spelling. But we don't understand that words are spells. We cast spells each and every day. There's good spells and there's bad spells. Hence why it's called spelling. We don't understand that our words build or our words tear down. We don't understand. And we have to bring back those connections to understand that everything you say can and will be used against you. Everything you say either builds or tears down. And our mouths are the most powerful weapon that we have. Because people are always talking about, it's just a lot of people, that focus on the word witchcraft and they focus on a lot of, oh, you curse. Baby, listen, you're getting cursed the most. You are cursed the most in your home and in the church building. Those are the two places where you're cursed the most, because people don't understand your words, the words you speak over somebody's life. See, God, to whom much is given, much is required. I am held to this standard. We all are, but I am held and I hold myself accountable to this standard where God taught me, watch your mouth. Your words are the most powerful things that you'll speak over a person. And those words speak life or they speak death. We don't understand. But this generation, oh, the kids, they're so mean. But so are you. These kids talk crazy. Some children have been getting cussed out before they could even say a word. And we wonder why. And see, the contradiction is, saying cuss words is not cursing. Contradiction. It is with your intention. Whatever you do, God measures your intentions. The words that you speak, cussing, contradiction to popular belief, saying cuss words is not bad. It's your intent behind the words that you speak. If you use a word to condemn somebody, if you use a word to literally try to decapitate him, to try to tear them down, to try to it's your intentions behind the word. So when you're cussing your kids out and you talking to them crazy, you are killing them. You never have to whoop your kids. You never have to pull out a gun. You never have to pull out a knife. The words that we speak pierce like knives. They pierce your soul. And every time you keep jabbing at that, see, people act like it's cool, but the truth of the matter is a lot of us, and I'm going to go into story time because a lot of us grew up in very, very critical homes, which is why we don't know how to watch our mouth. And we don't understand that these words that we speak, we curse our own lives. We curse ourselves when we say them, but we also curse others. And we don't understand why things are happening. You spoke it. You spoke it. You spoke that thing. And when you spoke that thing, the thing came into existence, that thing. See, when you speak negatively on a child, when you're critical, I grew up in a very critical, when you criticize your children or you talk about their weight or you always got something to say about the way they look, the way they dress, the way they are, you kill them a little. That's killing them slowly. They're dying slowly to the words that you're speaking over their life. Now they can't be who they are because in their own home, they're not welcome. In their own residence, they don't feel like they belong. Why? Because the words you speak over them. Oh, you got ugly feet. It's funny. It seems funny to crack. We don't understand. It's all fun and games. We don't understand how roasting and cracking is really damaging. And it starts with our families. And everyone, oh, you so soft. Listen. The hardest person has a heart, and their heart is hardened because of the words that were spoken to them. And you don't understand why people are so mean and they spew off hate and they have negativity. But when you grow up in an environment, that tree is planted in an environment that's negative. Negativity is all they know. So the words that you speak over your kids, they either give them life or they give them death. And we understand every disease, everything is connected to the source. It's connected to listen, your mouth is powerful. I remember growing up, like my mom, she said, and this is where we have to break these generational curses and cycles, and I'm gonna talk about me too. But I remember my mom said when she was a child, her mom, among other family members, used to call her Evelina. And they used to call her evil. Well, what they don't realize is they were speaking that into her life. They were speaking. You wonder why children are so angry, but you speak that into their life instead of saying, you are blessed. You are amazing. You are wonderful. You can do all things. We use these words as weapons because it's abuse. And we don't understand that, bullying starts in the home. And when you're bullied as a child, it's easier to be bullied as an adult. It's like, you don't understand because when you grow up in this critical environment, you start criticizing yourself. And because you criticize yourself, then you go to school and you criticize others because what you're doing is you're only projecting how you feel about you and what you're lacking. Everything derives from a lack. It's almost like a plant that's lacking water, it starts withering and dying. You can physically see that, but because you can't physically see our deaths because we cover up with nice clothes, we cover up with makeup, we cover up with nice hair, we get our nails done, we put on lipstick, and men put on nice suits, but under that suit there is a withering, dying plant, a tree, because it has been deprived of the water, the words. See, words are very powerful. We have to understand. So my mom, she spoke that into my mother's life. And then my mother, I won't say even she, but she just had this disposition where she just, I'm not talking to you. She really shut down and she really didn't speak a lot. And she just kept to herself because people had already labeled her. People had already told her who she wasn't. And so as a child, I remember this same mother, her mother. Okay, I'm gonna confess some things. When I was younger, I didn't really have the words to say to really defend myself. So I just throw them hands. I didn't have the words, but I'm gonna throw them hands. And so my cousins and, you know, my sister, especially my sister, she could rip you one with her mouth. Her mouth was, woo, it was deadly, baby. If you knew her, then you know. If you know, then you know. But they would say some mean things and, you know, say mean things. Kids are mean. I was mean. We were all mean. Kids are mean because we're taught that. You know, it's like the adults teach us this, and this is why we have to break those cycles. We all learn, and it comes from the root. It's where it starts. It's why you got to go back to Genesis. You got to go back to the beginning. It started with your mama, then their mama, then their mama. So all these things are cycles. But anyway, so I used to beat up my cousins and my sister. I beat my sister up until I think I was a freshman in high school or 8th grade, until she would fight me back. And that was like her lesson. But I'll get into that later when we talk about her. But I used to beat my cousins up. I would do some mean things, like I would stick some grease, and they know I ain't lying. I would stick grease on curling iron and like threaten to burn them with it and do things like that because they used to say things to me. And my grandmother, and this is why it started, because my grandmother used to tell my cousins, she's the devil. She's the devil. Oh, pray for her. Key is sick. Something's wrong with her. She's the devil. I'm divine, but I didn't know it. And so when you speak that into somebody, you cause them to be angry. In the Bible, I don't know the exact scripture. I'm not a Bible thumper. I'm really not. When God gives it to me, I project it. In the Bible, it talks about fathers, don't provoke your children. And I think that what we do and when we use the Bible, and we see, God is not a respecter of persons. So when God says man, it can be woman too. When God says woman, it can be man too. And you're not supposed to provoke your children to anger. And a lot of parents raise their children to be angry because you pick on them, you bully them with your words. I was in a relationship the same way. Like I said, that seed, again, back to the tree. Those words we speak are seeds. They're planted. Then they're watered because you continue to do it. And then that person's mind, it used to be a pure soul right here, their heart, their mind, and their environment control this, because it's an alignment. So when your mind is tainted with negativity and your environment is like filled with no hope, and you're being told what you're not, every time you're like knocking down that tree. You're knocking it down. You're not building it up. And it's counterproductive, especially when you have a house with two parents and one is trying to build up your child and the other one. And a lot of times, and this is not to be offensive, and a lot of times it's the male who has such harsh words, and it's like, that's supposed to be okay. Especially, and I'm not, you know, gender or race specifying, but I can only speak as a black woman because I'm black. As black women, black men are harsh. But their daddies and mamas were harsh. You got to get to the root of the problem. It's like we're not allowed to have emotions. And then you go to other countries and you wonder why their families are so happy in public. And it's like, I used to get talked about all the time. Oh, you think you're white? You want to be white because you want to be happy in public? Yes, I do. I want to be happy. I don't want to be white. I want to be black, and I want to be happy. I don't want you to abuse me with your words. I don't want you to bully me because you think that that's okay. Like, why? Who told you that? Who told you that you were supposed to bully the people you love? Like, it was an environment where those words that were spoken, and see, here we said we love people, and this is where I had to be corrected too, to not only watch my mouth, but watch who I allow talk to my children, because they're speaking life or death. You have to protect your innocent children. We think that protecting innocence is just sexually. Baby, listen, the words that people speak, we will take our children to environments we know, or let them live in environments that we know is killing them softly. I did it. I'm guilty. It's one of my biggest regrets, and I don't live with regrets, because his words used to hurt so badly. And again, with my daughter, my oldest child is like, oh, you so nasty, you so nasty. You keep speaking out of her life. You know, we're arguing about, stop talking to her like that. Why are you speaking to her like that? And then you wonder why she's withdrawn. You wonder why she don't want to talk. You planted that seed in her life, and it continues to grow. We don't understand that words are powerful. If you tell yourself or tell anybody else every day, I love you, you're amazing, you're the best person I've ever met in my life, that person, ooh, baby, listen, We wonder why some people have such high confidence and self-esteem. And the people who are confident, who have those love, have that love, and they're not deprived of love and kind words. They have this confidence. And then when people that don't, they want to knock it down. Oh, you think you all of that. You conceited. No, I'm loved. I'm liked. You know, it's so funny. People like you better when you don't like yourself, because we're so used to that. It's like the environments that we come from. We don't even understand where it derives from. It's toxic. It's damaging. It's deadly. And every day we're killing our children with the words that we speak. And so I had to learn that words are powerful. I had to learn how to watch my mouth. I had to learn those things, you know, because I was overly criticized. So I criticized myself. I would look in the mirror and I wouldn't like what I see. And so eventually you tell yourself over and over again how fat you are, how ugly you are. And you hear it from your family, you hear it from people. And pretty soon you look in the mirror and that's all you see, even if it's not what can be seen. Hence why you have to go back to the beginning. And when you understand and go back to God and you understand that God loves you, and you have to start seeing yourself the way that God sees you. Because the truth of the matter is, some people will never see you the way that God sees you. Some people are always going to think you're trash. They're always going to say these things about you. But it's not that that's who you are. They're projecting their own insecurities. They hate themselves. See, love and hate can't dwell in the same place. Light and dark can't dwell together. So when you are light, see, you originated from this light, and then people want to dim that light. It's like if you love yourself, oh, we gonna take that from you. It's a spiritual warfare, but it starts with the words that you speak, and we don't understand. Baby, listen, our children are dying because what we say to them, it matters. What you talk about, it matters. There is so much. You have to be careful. Words are powerful. It's the most powerful thing. And we got to go back to those curses. When you tell somebody, go to hell, or you going to hell. You know, we hear that a lot growing up in church. You going to hell. That's a curse. Watch your mouth. Every time you say that to somebody, you're cursing yourself, and you're also cursing them. You don't understand. I've really taken my children out of environments, because growing up, it was always a constant divide. And it was a divide in our household, but it was a divide in our family. It was like this family was better than this family, and this family is this. You know, we used to get cracked on because we lived in government housing, and all the houses looked the same, and it was like a running joke. Their houses, oh yeah, they live in these houses. They live in the ghetto. They live in the hood. Meanwhile, you live with our grandma. Make it make sense. Not only that, it was like, it was a way to, you use those words and you say those things to tear people down, and that's not building, and it's harsh, and those words hurt, and they become who you are, because inevitably that seed was planted. You know, when there's a seed in the ground, we only want to talk about harvests when they're good. We don't want to talk about those seeds. Oh yeah, I'm gonna put a seed in the ground and I'm gonna reap a harvest. Hallelujah, I'm gonna reap a harvest. Baby, that same seed that you put in the ground that's deadly, you're gonna reap that harvest too. You reap what you sow. And most of us don't understand the reason why we're not fruitful is because of the words that we speak. The reason why we're not fruitful is because the highest form of self-control is watching the words that come out of your mouth, because they matter. So when you talk about a child, and I've known this for a long time, and I've had some crazy situations I'll get into about my children's fathers. I have, just disclaimer, because I tell them myself, because it's nothing to tell, but I'm an open book, because God has taught me to be vulnerable, because who are you to judge me? Nobody. You're not nobody to judge me. So I have I'll go back, and I have 3 children. I mean, 3 baby fathers. I had 4 children. And so my first child I had at 19 with his father, and I had a second one. My daughter, she has a different father, and then my last 2 have a different father. And so, and honestly, I didn't have any of my children in favorable conditions. I really didn't. God gives you children when you need them, not when you want them, because most people don't understand that our children are our lesson. You're supposed to learn from them. When they come into your life, most of us end up in relationships because of that child. But sometimes that child is supposed to break you up from that relationship because it was never supposed to be. But that child was a purpose, you know? So we have to understand the karma behind all of that. We have to understand the connection behind all of that. But hear me. So even though my kids' fathers may have thought this, and we've had conversations, all of them, I don't talk about, and I learned this early on in life because God has always kind of walked with me and taught me lessons. So every time I've kind of like judged somebody, God has put me in that situation and I'm like, okay, I ain't judging that person no more. Every time I've like thought that I walked them out of somebody's shoes, God literally let me walk in their shoes and I learned my lesson. So I learned to watch my mouth because I would, why my sister get to do this? Why? And then I walked them out of her shoes, baby, listen. And we have had these conversations, but also my entire life has been like a big lesson and I learned from it, like sometimes quickly and sometimes not so quickly. But I understand one thing about a child is two parents created them, no matter which one is there and present and absent. What we don't understand, there's levels to being honest, okay? Honesty is being honest with your child, telling them the truth, where they came from, and all of that. But being harsh is talking bad and negative about a parent to the child. Here's why. It doesn't matter that they don't know their father. It doesn't matter that they don't know their mother. That mother created them. That father created them. So if you're talking about them, if you're saying all these negative things about, oh, your daddy ain't shit. Your daddy, oh, he ain't this, he ain't that. He's not nothing. He's nothing. Okay, but he made, in the child's mind, oh, but he made me. So if he's nothing, then I'm nothing. If you hate him, then you must hate me. Because why would you, in their mind, they might not say these things, but this is what they're thinking, and I know this. And so even though my children's first two fathers, and we had some unfavorable situations with the first, the first one was just young. He couldn't give me what he didn't have. And I walked away, and I was okay with that because I knew the purpose behind having my son. And I understood that. And I didn't talk bad about him. No matter what he thought, I never talked bad about him to his son. So when he got older, and he had been absent all of these years, and my son wanted to give him an opportunity to have this conversation, the first thing he did was start talking about me. And he's like, whoa. We don't understand. This is the only person that's been there for me my entire life. This is the person that raised me. This is the person. Listen, you can't come in here chopping down that tree, trying to build yours up. See, that's the part we have to watch. We are willing to tear down somebody else's tree just for ours to grow. It's evil. It's wicked. And we don't understand. That's why we talk about people. That's why, you can't be, and I'm guilty. I've never really been big on talking about people. I'm not saying I never have. That would be a lie. But I would sit around and listen. I would participate, and you're just as bad as the people. It's almost like when you go in a car and that person goes to rob somebody and everybody else is in the car is guilty. See, as it is in earth as it is in heaven. We don't understand that. We don't understand the duality of spiritual and physical. If you hang around those people and they're robbing, you're a robber too. If you hang around those people and they're gossiping and they're talking about people, you are too. You're just as guilty, because if you don't stand up for that person, if you don't walk away, if you don't tell that person that they're wrong, you're wrong too. And we don't understand that. And so I am so guilty of being in environments, especially putting my children in environments where you're knocking them down. I'm trying to build them up. I'm trying to be this person. And I allow you to say those words to them. And we think that they're harmless, but they're very deadly. They're very harmful. And you're just as guilty. So I've learned to eliminate. And again, this is why you have to cut down, like I said from the very beginning, in the shady trees, you have to cut down those limbs. Just because that's your family don't mean you need to be around them. They are speaking death. And when you're around people who speak death, death becomes her. Death becomes you. Death becomes you. You're walking around dead because you're around people who speak death. They don't speak life. They don't speak about good things. They sit around and talk about people all day. News Center 7. They sit there and talk about people all day. What good is that? What good is that? Talking about what people have, what they don't have. And then we wonder why children do it. Children do it because they sit there and watch the parents do it. They see you being all kind and holy in church. And when you're around your church friends, you act one way. And then when you're around your real friends, you act another way. When you're around your kids, they see the real you. Your children see the real you. They're almost a little close to God because you can hide from everybody, but you can't from your children. They know you. They hear what you say. They know how you treat them. Even if nobody else knows, they know what goes on. Baby, listen. Your children are your greatest teachers. Listen to them. I learned to listen to my children. How did I make you feel growing up? What did I say to hurt you? What words did I speak over your life that you didn't like? How could I have changed those things? Those are the conversations that we're not having because our throat chakras are blocked. Because the enemy has a snatch and a hold on your tongue. And you don't understand the connection. And you don't understand that you're not living and that you're dying. Everything changes when you get out of the environment. I'll never forget the day that I walked away from the house that I loved so much because I was building this home and I loved it so much that I had to break up with the house first. But when I walked away and I cut that tree limb off and I cut that branch from the very first day, I never missed it. Not one thing. Not one thing I missed about it. Now, I felt free. My skin became clearer. I started losing weight. The joy that I had lost was restoring to me. I was speaking positively into my life. I started listening to positive speeches and motivational speeches. I used to do it for my kids in the morning. I used to do it because I used to play motivational speeches because they didn't know that I was like drowning. But it was me. It wasn't me that I was trying to save. I was trying to save them. I'm like, in my mind, I wasn't consciously thinking that they were drowning too. But my thought process was, if I speak into their lives, then they won't feel the way that I feel. If I give them this positivity, if I tell them every morning, and they hated me every morning, we used to have to say, and my kids know this to be true. And listen, every morning, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me, because I am somebody. And I would have them say that every day. And we would say things in the morning, but I didn't realize that as I'm building, I'm still tearing down, because we still go back to that same home. We still go back to that same environment. And the more hurt that I was, come on now, the more that I start drowning, the deeper I got into the water, the deeper I felt like the depths of my soul was hurting, because I was being abused emotionally and verbally. I started projecting that onto my children, because now my heart became hard. And you just stop caring. Most people don't understand. It's not that you don't love people. It's not that you don't want better. It's not that you don't want to be a better mom, that you don't want to be a better father, that you don't want to change the situation. Your heart is hardened. God said, listen, this is why he said you can't hear his voice when your heart is hardened, because now you're not listening. Not only can you not hear his voice, you can't hear your children's voice. You can't hear their cries for help. You can't hear that they're hurting. You can't hear because you're too damaged, which is the enemy's plan. If he can damage your tree, then there's no fruit. If he can damage your fruit, there's no growth. If he can damage your children, it's a cycle. And we have to understand, you can't be bound by this family word. You can't, and the crazy thing is, people don't understand, like, okay, I was like the butt of jokes. And it's crazy is because I was as a child. It's like when you get used to that environment of being cracked on and criticized and, in front of your siblings, and it's like, okay, your parents and y'all all laughing at each other. And I'm not talking about in a funny way. I'm talking about in a degrading way. Things that embarrass you should not be topics of discussion for your children to sit there and nitpick and crack on each other, right? That division starts in a home. If you can divide a home, baby, listen, you can divide a nation. It's easy to divide a nation when our homes are divided, right? And so these words, it's like I've always been like a punching bag. And the craziest thing is, I had a conversation that I have not, me and my daughter's father did not talk for like 18 years. I kid you not. We had a conversation and he said some very, very profound things to me. He said, Kia, you've always been everybody's punching bag. And I said, damn, you're right. I was. It's easy to attack the person who cares. It's easy to attack the person who loves you. It's easy to attack the person that's going to keep trying to be there for you and keep forgiving you. And every time you're sorry, they're going to keep showing up. But I was in a marriage where he would be around his friends and crack on me. I thought that was love. I thought that was normal, because the environment to where those seeds were planted into me, overly criticizing myself, overly criticizing everything, that I was like the butt of jokes. It was like, crack on Kia, crack on her family, talk about her. Oh, she, So every time you said those things to me, I didn't realize that my children were listening. So if you're talking about me, they're a reflection of me. So if they're a reflection of me and I ain't shit, they ain't shit. And the truth of the matter is, and we like to call people narcissism, but I like to call that demon and that spirit what it is. Most people just have wicked hearts. When you are around somebody whose heart is wicked and yours is pure and you really do try, and it's not about being perfect. You know, that's the thing me and my sister used to always go back and forth. It's like people want to play people against each other. It's like good witch versus bad witch, and it's like good girl versus bad girl. And the truth of the matter is, we deal with broken hearts differently. See, some people's superpower is love, so they can love through the pain, they can love through the hurt, they can still try to be the best that they can, and that is looked upon like, oh, you think you better. No, you don't. You just, that's just who you are. And it's like the enemy, your enemy knows, and this is what God has taught me, your enemy knows, kind of knows your destiny. They know that you're pure in heart. They know that you're better than what they treat you, but they keep you that way to keep you from elevating. They keep you that way from keep you from growing. They know you deserve better. That man you're trying to convince that you're worthy and you're good enough for, he knows. You don't know. Because all your life somebody has told you what you're not. They haven't told you what you are. He knows. Hence why he makes you feel less, so you can stay with him, so that he feels like he deserves you, or she deserves you. They know your worth. You don't know your worth, because those roots, those words that have been poured into you, those seeds that have been planted inside of you, they grow, whether they're good, bad, or ugly. They grow. And so when you're overly criticized, and you have to understand, watch your mouth. What you say to these kids, it matters. Your words, listen, for instance, you take a child, you know how kids be so excited about the littlest things. It's like, look at my A on my paper, look at my paper, look at my paper. And this is why it's important even for teachers to be mindful. And I had to teach a lot of teachers this at my children's old school. And one teacher did like a 360. It's like, praise the little things. You know, I used to be a teacher, and I love being in the classroom when I had young and impressionable lives. And I'm just born to be a teacher. That's just who I am. I never needed a degree to be a teacher, even though I finally got one. You don't need a degree to be who God called you to be, correct? But watch the way you speak to these babies. If a child is struggling in school, it's the littlest thing that you notice that'll it's mind over matter, because the words you speak, when you plant that seed that they can do it, when you plant that seed that they are amazing, that they can do anything they put their mind to, then they'll know that littlest thing that little Johnny is doing in class, praise him for it. See, God wants to worship and praise. Why? Because when you praise God for it, it's like it's a reciprocation. You praise him, he blesses you. You praise that child will bless you. Why? Because your students long remember you after the classroom. Students remember good teachers, really, really, really good teachers, and they remember the ones that are bad. Why? Because we're all in some capacity teachers, whether you are a teacher or not. You teach something that sticks with them. Everything that you say sticks with the person. And you will be remembered by the words that you speak. You will be remembered by how you made somebody feel. They may not remember exactly what you said, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. And so those little bitty things that you teach a person, watch what you say to people's kids. Like I had to check a teacher the end of the year last year, when my child left private school. You told her she couldn't. God said she can. You said that she couldn't, but God said she can. Stop telling children in the nicest way. See, most of us want to go off on somebody and spew out hate. Hate creates more hate, which is why you have to watch your mouth. There is a great way. When you show people love, respect, kindness anyway, listen, such and such. My daughter is thriving at her new school. She's doing amazing. Her grades are amazing. Her attitude is amazing. Her confidence is amazing. I just want to thank you. Thank you for telling her who she wasn't, because it inspired her and pushed her to become who she is. See, we have to understand words, they build or they tear down. We have to understand the connection, because we're so disconnected that we think that if we buy our children more, a lot of people want to buy kids. You want to give them the world. Hence why relationships don't work, because buying things, whenever, talk to the richest man on earth, the richest person on earth, the richest woman. Money can't buy you a happy soul. Money can't buy you friendships. Some of the loneliest people are rich. It may look like it because when the bottle's popping, everybody's around. But when they go home, no matter if there's a room full of people, they're lonely. Because people want what you have, but they don't want who you are. They don't, it's like, money is nothing. It's nothing. You could buy a person the world, but children care about experiences. And I've always been this way. Like, I've never been big, and I used to think it was because I didn't have any money. For real. I'm not being honest. I thought it was because I didn't have any money. But it's just like the soul inside of me knows that I can give my kids everything they ask for. It'll never be enough, because as people, we're never satisfied. And it starts in childhood, because when we lack things, we're never satisfied. We want more and more and more and more and more. We become greedy. And we don't understand why we're greedy, because we're trying to fill a void that can't be filled with things. So I try to give them experiences. I try to give them lessons. I try to love them in the space that they're in. And I haven't always been successful with that because of the environment. But once I got out of that environment, baby, listen, it changed me. And I started becoming fruitful, because, again, one of the most highest forms of self-control, and that's a fruit of the spirit, is watching your mouth. If you don't learn anything else about this lesson, remember how connected we are. It's like speaking life gives life. We don't understand that if you always saying you sick, you sick. You will be. I don't speak sickness. I don't do the medicine thing. I'm not about that life. Like, I don't speak those things over my life. I never have. It's like, I'll be all right. I'm fine. Because you tell yourself, the more you plant those seeds of negativity, the more seeds you plant of doubt, the more seeds you plant of fear. See, fear is planted in you. See, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. I was a scary child, but fear was implanted in me. It's like every little thing you do is like, we teach our children to be afraid. We teach our children not to jump. A child thinks they can fly until somebody tells them that they can't, which is why you gotta understand your words are powerful. Soon as you tell them, soon as you tell somebody, I remember just growing up, like my dad used to be, and again, men can be very harsh. Like, you have an idea, you have a dream, you tell them, and they'll kill it. I don't think that that's a good idea. Hence why you have to protect your dreams. And we have to learn how to talk to God. You know that Jesus is the best friend you'll ever have. God is the best friend you'll ever have, because God is not going to judge you. He's not. God is not going to take your dream and steal it from you. God is not going to tell you that you can't do it. We have to stop going to people. We want to, because that's our comfort zone, and we've been taught to be so social in school. We've been taught to be social. It's nothing wrong with being friendly. But we have to understand, in order to have friends, we got to learn how to be friends first. And most of us come from environments that aren't friendly. We don't know how to be friends. There's so much division in the home. My sister and I realized when we got older, how can you keep a friend if you don't even know how to be friendships with your sister and your brothers, the people that you live with the most? How do you say you love God? How do you say you love other people? But you allow other people to come between y'all. You allow people to talk about the people you love. Baby, listen, I'm not sitting around you talking about somebody I love. I'm going to correct you. I'm not scared. See, that's where fear keeps you in bondage. Fear keeps you from saying what you have to say. Fear keeps you from doing what you have to do. Fear keeps you from jumping. Fear keeps you from all these things. It's a spirit. God didn't give you that spirit. It's not of God. Most Christians and religious people, they operate in fear. They teach you to be scared. Oh, if you do this, God gonna do this. God is gonna... Listen, baby, listen, you're cursing yourself. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. God be like, listen, watch your mouth. It was another lesson that God gave me after I left. I got this message, and it was like, life and death is in the power of your tongue. So it wasn't enough to have faith to just walk away from a situation that didn't serve me. It's not enough to just cut off those tree limbs. Once something is broken, once something is damaged, once something is chopped, now you have to prepare it. Because once you cut that tree stops its growth. And we understand once you cut a person's self-esteem, once you cut their confidence, once you chop them down, it stunts their growth. They stop right there. So what you have to do, because you can't regrow that tree from that point. I'm looking at trees, right? They're never going to change. Those limbs are there, and either they fall off, they won't regrow, correct? They won't regrow. They're going to fall off. Once you take down that tree, once you chop those trees, and you take those things down, it's not enough for you to just try to keep watering on top of that tree. Nope, you got to go to the root. You got to have those uncomfortable conversations. You have to go back and go down to the problem. You got to get to the root of the problem. You got to understand that when you have been damaged, you got to fix that damage. And once you fix your damage, now you got to go to your children. You got to go to your children and fix that damage. So being in a home that's hostile and toxic and argumentative, I promised my children for the remainder of my dope-ass life, and I do mean dope-ass life, that I will not argue. I'm not arguing with them. I'm not arguing with anybody. I'm not arguing with a relationship, because that's not love. We are taught as children what love is and what is not. We don't know. We don't know what love is. What you know about love? Nothing. Most of us don't know what love is. We don't know. We don't know what love is because it has become control. It has become dictating. It has become telling you what you're not, bullying you, criticizing you, cracking on you. That's not love. That's not love. A person that loves you, you feel safe in their energy. Honestly, when you love somebody, and this is God had to teach me, the person who loves you, they're not going to hurt you, because hurting you hurts them. If hurting a person doesn't hurt you, then you don't love them. So how can you sit there and crack on them day in and day out? How can you sit there and be mean to them day in, day out, and it doesn't hurt you? That's dangerous. You can't say you love people. See, we can be, and I don't know why I just thought about that, because I got this mom. Every time I wear this shirt, I always wear the same stuff. I'm always working out and working. So I'll be basic. I'm so basic, but I'm not. Don't try to figure me out. But you can be a hero in your child's life or in somebody's life, or you can be the villain. You can create them to be heroes, or they can be villains. It's one way or the other. And how you start that is with the words that you speak in their life. And I know a lot of people may be listening to this and they may feel like, oh, okay, I get it. But what do? I'm going to tell you what to do. Watch your mouth. I know that you might not have done it in the past. I know that you might have been harsh because people were harsh to you. We're all victims. That's why you can't. This is why God says, love those who despitefully use you, persecute you, and try to harm you in my name's sake. Why? Because that person has been hurt. That person, they only talk to you like that because their mama and daddy talk to them like that. They only treat you that way because that's how they were treated, or that's how they see themselves. They're victims. We're all victims of our circumstances. We're all victims. But it's up to you to stop being a victim. Most of us, we are so victimized, and we allow people to bully us until we stand up and say something. Like, open up your mouth. Listen, God taught me, you want to fight back? You want revenge? You can't get over revenge. You can't get retaliation. You want to fight back? Open up your mouth. You mad your sister died? Talk about it. You angry? You angry that her life was chopped in half? Talk about what happened. It is your greatest weapon. But it's also the weapon that we form against ourselves, that we're not prospering, because we're speaking death on people when God says speak life. We're speaking harm on people when God says speaking kindness and love. We curse people. And then we tell people how to worship and praise God. And who told you that? Watch your mouth. That's why God says, touch not my anointed, do my prophets no harm. We curse ourselves when we tell people how to live and who to be, and if they're not doing it right, and oh, your outfit, and how you don't dress like this. Who are you? Oh, you're fat, you're ugly. Who are you? Don't do that to people. God said, who are you to tell somebody who they are not? I said, you're the right. See, and that's why we have to go back to the very beginning. who you listen to is very important. See, children are innocent because they can't help that their mom and daddy, they can't help the environment, but you can. So it's up to you to take them out of that environment. It's up for you to change that environment. But watch what environment you in. I can't afford my soul. Listen, nothing's sacred anymore. My soul too sacred to be sitting around with just any old body, having sex with any old body, dating any old body, having conversations with any old body. Death becomes you, and people are drawn to your energy, but you got to protect your energy because it is the highest currency. Baby, money ain't nothing. It's your energy that the devil wants. It's your energy that the enemy wants. It gives them life. It's a power source. They plug into you. I never realized how many people were plugged into me until I disconnected and I unplugged. And I realized I couldn't nourish me. I couldn't feed me. I couldn't build me because I was too busy building you. You can't do that, baby. You can't do that. I was a mother my entire life. And I get it. God gave me wisdom. I understand my purpose. But I also never got to be a child. And that childhood was stolen from me. And then because of my ignorance, because of the things that I had gone through, a portion of my children's innocence had been stolen and childhood had been robbed from them. You see the connection? Disconnect it. Break those cycles. Because if you don't, who will? Nobody. It's you. You can't control how somebody treats you. You can't control what somebody says. You cannot control people. You can't control what they think about you. You can't control. See, that's where we have to lose control because it's not in your hands. Self-control. You got to govern yourself. When you understand that you can't control how they see you, you can only control you. When you learn to control you and you love yourself, no matter what, when you accept who you are, no matter despite who doesn't accept you, it's powerful. When you have self-control to be able to walk away from an argument, baby, listen. We have self-control to be able to walk away from people that don't serve you, baby, listen. Hardest thing I ever had to do. Because I've always felt like I was in the middle. When I was a child, I was in the middle. See, I was little, and I know this conversation getting long. It's probably going to be a few parts. But, my parents would get into arguments. And they would, I had a lot of wisdom, I get that, but I was still a child. And they would talk to me about each other. And it was painful. And my dad, he did a lot of things. And, just being a young couple, they weren't ready, I was in the middle of that. And so the conversations that I would have with my mom and my dad were very, very inappropriate, which caused me to view relationships very toxically. And I took that into my adulthood. And those words penetrated my soul. And most women, we don't understand. We want men, but honestly, we don't respect them. Because we never met a respectable man. We don't really respect them. Hence why we can't submit to them. Because how they treated our moms, how they treated us, what they say, what they do, we don't understand it. It's like a bank account. We're taking account. It's like collecting deposits. Every time you deposit, word. Every time you say something, every time you see something, it's a deposit. Or it's a withdrawal. And it's like a deficit. It's like you withdraw for something. It's like you deplete that. You start with this high regard for people, and don't get it twisted. I had this admiration. We idolize our parents so much because we're fearful, and we idolize them so much because that's, we want to please them. We want to make them proud. Because when you come from a family that doesn't know how to tell you, or they don't have like this love in the house, you could tell you feel love. Like when you don't feel love in the house, there's no hugs, there's no kisses, there's no love between the parents. It trickles down to the kids. And because they don't have that love, it's like they yearn for it. So they do everything to please you. And they try really, 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 really hard. And then they do that in relationships. And then I saw that toxic cycle in my daughter. And she was trying so hard to keep us together, and it was damaging. And I had to change that. And even after I walked away, she's still in the middle, and it's like, stop. We don't understand what we're doing to children when we put them in the middle. It's toxic. That's not their place. I always felt like I was in the middle. So I was in the middle as a child, and between my parents, and raising, when I say raising my siblings, like being their mother figure, and then having my own children, and then having two children that had a different father, and then two children that had the same father. There was this divide, this great divide. I've always been in the middle. And so when I walked away, staying was like, oh my God, do I stay for the last two, or do I go for the first two? It was like, the hardest thing I ever had to do was walk away. Because I knew that walking away would inevitably help me and my first two children breathe again. Breathe. I mean, literally, I was underwater. I could not breathe. But I knew that it would make my last two children, it would break that foundation, it would tear it down. But I didn't realize, because I had to trust God in that process, and I had to have faith that God was going to bring it all together, and he was going to heal that whole situation by walking away. Because sometimes we think that staying is the ultimate best solution. Baby, listen, don't try to be no superhero and save the day and have a 25-year marriage. But during those 25 years, everybody died, including you, and y'all just walking around existing, but nobody has ever lived. That's not an honor. That's not something to praise. We do it because it sounds good. We like to say, oh yeah, I've been married 50 years. Well, how many of those years was y'all happy and whole? How many of those years, what happened? Let me talk to your kids. Let me see how they feel about that marriage. We have to understand. Our next conversation going to be about marriage. But we have to understand that words and an environment and plants can't grow without sun. If there is no sunshine in your life, if there is no light in your house, and there's filled with darkness, your children can't grow, you can't grow, and it's time to go. And some people would think, oh, you're trying to break up homes. No, some people should have never been together. Some people don't need to be together. Your children are happier. Trust me. The first day I went to my grandmother's house, we had a beautiful, listen, we used to have a beautiful home. Everybody had their own space. Everybody had their own big room. Me and my youngest two kids were in the same room together in a small bed together, all three of us. And the first thing my little baby said, my child said, he said, Mommy, I like it here. I love it here. It's peaceful here. And that first night, I slept like a baby. And it was almost like, God said, forget and return no more. Walk away and return no more. I finally cut that branch off. And then I had to start rebuilding that tree. So, again, watch your mouth. The words you say, they hurt. And people may crack on you. It was always, oh, you're so sensitive. Oh, you're so emotional. But if you love me and you know that, why you want to hurt me? Why you want to beat me up? A person doesn't have to hit you with their fist, because their mouth, your tongue, is the greatest weapon. Don't allow your tongue to be a weapon that you form against others or yourself. Remember, words are spells. You cast them each and every day. Just as I'm speaking over your life, I speak prosperity into you. I speak peace in your home. I speak that you will operate in the frequency of love. I speak that if you have been in environments where they have been damaging and you feel broken, I'm speaking into your life that is going to change, that God is going to change you, that God is going to open up your heart, that God is going to teach you the words to speak, that God is going to walk with you, and he's going to talk with you, and he's going to rebuild you. I know they told you were nothing. I know they counted you out. I know they think you're ugly. I know they're talking about your body type. I know they dish you, they dog you, baby. Listen, you are not who they say you are. You are who God says you are. And I'm speaking into your life that you go chase that person, that you go look and see yourself the way that God sees you. Some people will never build you up. You have to build yourself. Watch your mouth. Your tongue is powerful. Thank you for having this conversation. I love you. Be blessed. You are amazing. You are wonderful. You are a divine original. You are unique. You are the righteousness of God. You are everything, baby. Listen, you everything. And that's on God. I love you. Until next time. Peace.